this is a response to Spooky University's topic of chemtrails, and I'm doing it sort of weird this time because I actually did research. And I'm gonna leave a bunch of links and stuff in the description. I'm also going to leave a link to spookyuniversity.com, which I actually should have announced on Spooky University on Monday night, but I didn't because I completely blanked on it. As you could probably tell, I wasn't feeling too great. So, let's talk about chemtrails. And of course, I'm going to be looking down at my computer because I've written everything down. There's a yellow box around this right here. Okay, so I just did a Google search for chemical trails or chemtrails, and of course the first thing that comes up is a Wikipedia article. Now, normally I'm not a person who puts a lot of stock in Wikipedia because it's created by the public. So they first start talking about chemtrails as conspiracy theory. But I thought I would tell you a little bit of an excerpt out of that. Because these were the things that I actually believed. So the conspiracy theory is that chemtrails are the belief that condensation trails coming from aircraft consist of chemical or biological things that are deliberately sprayed. And the way Wikipedia phrased it was for unknown purposes undisclosed to the general public. Now, apparently all these conspiracy theories started back in the late 90s, and they were actually a result of a report published by the United States Air Force about weather modification. And so I talked to my husband about this topic too, and he said, well, what about cloud seeding? Have you looked into that? And I said, well, I didn't look into it specifically, but this weather experimentation sort of talked about that. So anyway, so the Air Force publishes this report that talks about weather modification and how contrails contribute to changes in weather. Well, then of course that got all these conspiracy theories rolling. And so in 2000, the year 2000, the Environmental Protection Agency, along with the Federal Aviation Agency, the FAA, NASA, and NOAA, they all try to dispel these rumors. But of course, hi Taro. But of course, when somebody really protests something that you're saying or denies something that you're saying, usually people will either say, oh, well, okay, it must not be true, or whatever. Or they say, well, wait a second, are you denying it so adamantly because it actually is true and you're trying to cover it up? Now, a lot of conspiracy theorists actually, of course, do that part. So I moved on from the conspiracy theory angle as far as Wikipedia goes, and I went and did I found a site that, or actually I found a site where somebody actually claimed that they got video that proved that chemtrails were real. And so I go in and look at this, and it's from May 2014. And this guy, Ben Radford, published an article on the Seekers website, which I thought was a very interesting website. You should check it out if you've never seen it. I'd never seen it before. And he was discussing the conspiracy theory, claiming that somebody had posted a video that proved the theory. And here's what he said. It's odd that conspiracy theorists are so certain that they exist, they being chemtrails, but can't even agree on what exactly they are or what they do. Some say it's a sinister government mind control experiment. Others say the trails are a form of weather control. Still others insist that experimental drugs are being tested on unsuspecting urban populations. Now, that particular paragraph brought me back in time to when I was a kid and living in Florida, and I can remember their planes, these sort of crop dusting planes, flying over our neighborhoods, and my mom or somebody, I don't remember clearly who said this, but would say, "Oh, they're dealing with the mosquitoes because there were so many mosquitoes in Florida." And of course, it's just basically a giant swamp. But so it is possible. It is something that can be done. I mean, the chemicals can be included in some form or fashion and actually sprayed out over an area. Now, a couple of things that come to mind. One is these crop dusting planes were pretty low, and so they, of course, had a better chance of doing something with what they were spraying out. But also, that's another thing, is that these the big jets are really far up in the air, and something is coming out of them, and they say it's condensation, and that's fine and understandable, but it's so high up. A question is, what would it do so far up in the atmosphere? What would it actually do to help or hinder or people? So who knows. So that was going down sort of a weird trail right there. But anyway, so when I go to click this video to take a look at the video, I was led to a completely different website, and it's called doubtfulnews.com. And I'm putting links to everything in this in the description below. But there is definitely some strong language in this one. And the author, this particular author, who was the owner and editor of doubtfulnews.com, they said that as of May 14th, various accounts have removed the video with copyright claims. And then she mentions how unfortunate it is that the video has been removed, but provides a still photo from the video. Now, putting it somewhere here so you can see this still photograph. I did find the video, though, because I had to at that point. And it's linked on another site called World Truth TV. And I was reading the comments. So this is actually a YouTube channel. And of course, again, I'll link all this stuff below. But it was interesting because I'm reading the comments below the video, and you have one pilot who's saying, "As a pilot, I just wanted to say that anyone that believes this is dumb." And a lot of people say that if you believe that chemical trails exist and they're being used to do things, that you're stupid, that you're ignorant, that you're dumb, direct quote there. And another piece of what that comment said was, take a few classes on aerodynamics. But then later on in the comments section, there's another "as a pilot" comment that says, "I just need to inform everyone that all commercial pilots must sign non-disclosure agreements, which are essentially gag orders in regards to anything involving geoengineering," and then in parens, chemtrails. You will never hear a licensed pilot discuss anything of value regarding this topic, period." Now, Via Latina, she actually, in her response to Spooky University, mentioned that she was part of the airline industry. So she says she's never seen any sort of evidence of it. No place. Nobody ever talked about it. Talked about chemtrails. No, she never saw any chemicals or any warehousing or any offices or anything that had to do with chemical trails. And I totally appreciate that perspective, because if you've worked in conjunction with anything, I sort of, my mind goes back to the whole Aaron Brockovich thing, and PG&E, where, nobody in the company would dare say anything about it except the one guy who said he was a bad employee. But there was documentation. There were things that were classified or confidential or whatever. So I don't know. It's kind of a battle of Could it be a thing? Sure, I think it could be a thing. Um, but is it? Obviously, I don't know. I don't know. And then, of course, I kept going down this YouTube rabbit hole after that. And there are plenty of videos, excuse me, that attempt to provide evidence that chemtrails are real. Um, I'll link you to various clips compilation. Now, going down that rabbit hole, this was kind of cool. I found a video on YouTube from a United Nations webcast. And I thought that was really interesting. And what they were talking about there was the weather manipulation. And Alicia, he had mentioned about the weather manipulation too, that he'd heard of that. So I go to the United Nations website and I think I'm going to do a search because really, I was going to say most of their documentation's public. I'm going to take that back immediately. So I wanted to see if there was anything anywhere in any of their documentation that's online that would even indicate kind of that there was some sort of chemical, mixture or anything like that in airplanes. So here's what I did. I did a search, just a general search first for weather experiments, chemical airplane. So those are my words that I put in. And the top result was a Word document that summarized the Climate Smart Project. And basically what that was introducing new technology in agriculture and climate monitoring that would increase food production, monitor and measure weather and climate in unmonitored rural areas, and reduce the impact of weather volatility and natural disasters on governments and civil society. So interesting, right? So maybe there's something to it. Maybe it's not as scary or malicious as maybe some people think it is. Maybe it is, but maybe it's something to help. So because this was a summary, this particular document was a summary. So I of course did a Control F to find any mention of chemicals, and the piece. Let's see. So let's see, food production, this is the section. So food production is increased when precise information about weather, crops, and farming operations is used. This practice is called precision agriculture, and it has been shown to lead to significant improvements in efficiency and food production. Larger farms and new farming technology produces quantitative data that can be used to reduce input costs, and then in parens, chemicals and fertilizers, optimize operations, spraying and tilling, in parens, and assess the impact of weather on yields. So it wasn't really leading to what I wanted to talk about. I wasn't finding any sort of chemical specific information. So next I went to their advanced search because part of my job is searching things. So part of my job in real life is searching for things and finding the best terms to find specific information. So I went to their advanced search and I searched for chemical condensation trails airplane, I set it up so this was where all of the words appear in the result, and I got 5 hits that really didn't come back with anything. So I went with an exact phrase search instead, so if you do a search for all of the words, that means that each of those words has to appear in the result. It doesn't have to be next to each other or even on the same page for that matter. It just has to actually be in the document. So that's why it didn't really lead anywhere. But when I went and did an exact phrase search for chemical trail, I got 0 hits. However, when I searched for the exact phrase condensation trail, I got 2 hits, both from the Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Both of them were PDFs, and both of them were from 2001. And the first one is titled "The Role of the Transport Sector in Environmental Protection." It's a 16-page document that includes this statement on page 7. Aircraft emit gases and particles directly into the upper troposphere and lower stratosphere, where they have an impact on atmospheric composition. These gases and particles alter the concentration of atmospheric greenhouse gases, trigger formation of condensation trails, contrails, and may increase cirrus cloudiness, all of which contribute to climate change. So that's interesting. Now, it doesn't actually say we put chemicals in this stuff and that's going to alter you or your world. But basically it's saying that there are gases and particles that are in there that actually do have some sort of effect. The next document that I found, like I said, was also published in 2001, and it's entitled Aviation and Social Development. And the same exact information about aircraft emitting gases, etc., was included in that same paper, in that other paper. So that was the research I did. I've sort of sprinkled in my opinion throughout, but what do I think? Really, you know, it's very, very hard for me to trust the American government completely. And because I know that things are kept confidential or classified, or they're redacted, or they're covered up, or whatever it is. So, you know, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a pure conspiracy theorist that all these conspiracies I think are right. There are some things out there that are called conspiracy theories that I definitely do subscribe to. But this particular one, I would say it's very possible for, for chemicals and things to be included in these condensation trails, and that those chemicals, as the condensation is taken out of the airplane, to be then put into the atmosphere somehow. What are they including harmful chemicals or helpful chemicals? I don't know. I have no proof either way. I don't know what chemical it would be. But I honestly, I think that it is possible. Do I think that it's probable? I don't want to say with any certainty either way, just because you never know. And I am specifically talking about the United States government in this particular scenario. I don't know anything about the Canadian government or any of the other governments around the world. I don't know. I don't really know a whole lot about the United States government, but what I do know and what I have learned and the things that I have seen, I can't say that I 100% trust anything they say or do. So my opinion is, who knows? Who knows if it's a true thing or not? But I don't think that people are stupid for considering the possibility that something like this exists. I think that it's okay to question what you think is right or real or happening. I think it's okay to raise the question. If it was a really major concern, though, I think that people would demand some sort of research be done. But again, even then, a true conspiracy theorist would probably say, you know what, there's no telling. Or actually, a true conspiracy theorist would probably say, even though you did research, you would never find anything because they would completely cover it up. So, anyway, that's my assessment of this spooky university topic of chemical trails or chemtrails. And what's your opinion? What do you think? Do you think that that it's a thing? Do you think that you'll go and research it anymore? Does it bother you? What if it was? I mean, what if they were putting chemicals into the air on purpose to brainwash us or something, what would you think about that? Would you still kind of sit back and just let it happen, or would you want to get into it and research it? All right. I hope you have a good day or good night or whatever, wherever you are. If you're not subscribed to Spooky University, you should go over there and check it out and subscribe if you like it. All right, I will talk to you later. Bye.